Hello and welcome to Rockstar UK. In this episode we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be working on the Escort. So what I've got to do is I've got quite a bad oil leak on the sump, or suspected on the sump. So because I've got a work up cross member on here, it's quite hard to get access to the sump. So the best way to do it is take the engine out. There's a few things I want to do because the engine's quite a fresh build. I've done the running miles, so I've done 3,000 miles on it, but I'd like to just check all the bearings, make sure they're wearing right, there's not any excessive play. Obviously I've got to do an oil change anyway. I've got to service the bike carbs. There's a few things I want to paint up because whilst I've been building this garage, the winter's had its toll on it because it's been kept up at my parents' house. So I've got to get it back up to the show spec that it was. So yeah, let's get to it. So this isn't going to be a one-part video. This is going to be 2 or 3 parts, maybe even more, as long as it takes. So today I'd like to get the bike carbs off, the strut brace. I'll be happy with that because I've got the kids, I've got to get them to bed. So let's just start taking the ancillaries off and we'll see how it goes. So first of all, we're going to take this bolt out, and basically take that strut brace out of the way. That gives us access to all the stuff that we need. Basically, I'd like to keep the manifold on here because there really isn't much need to take it off. So I'm going to take these off by the silicone joiners. The fuel gets delivered into a pipe underneath, so I'll take that out, block it off, so we don't get any spillages. This grill's got to come off so that I can gain access to taking the radiator off. Would probably take the alternator off, the starter motor, Desi can stay. So yeah, there's lots to be getting on with. So after taking the grill off, as you can see, little bits I've just got to clean up. This is all clean, no rust, which is good because that's quite often where they're prone to going around there in this seam weld. Yeah, she's looking good, looking healthy. So any little bits of chip paint I'm just going to touch up. yeah, she's looking good. I'm quite happy with that. Obviously there's little bits like this I'll just touch up. So basically I've got one bolt, 2 bolts, third bolt's down there somewhere, you can't really see it, and there's another bolt up there, quite a tricky one to get to. But that 4 bolts then, I mean I'll be able to take the radiator off. The only problem is if you look, that's close. There's not a lot of movement there. So to get it out, I've actually got to take the 4 sort of bolts that hold the rad on. So that's got to come off so that I can then have enough room to push the radiator back. And literally there's a tiny cutout where the radiator sits along there, so it's got me enough that I can push it forward and pull it up. So yeah, that's going to take a little while. I won't bore you with that, so I'll do that. You'll see that probably in the next video. It'll be off. I'm thinking about leaving the alternator in place and the exhaust manifold, because it's a 2-4-1, so it goes 2 into a joiner, which is a 2 joiner, then into 1 underneath the car. If I just take it off at the 2 slip joins, that means I can actually leave the gaskets intact on the head, which that saves a lot of work. So I can mask up the engine and just paint the exhaust with a bit of a spray can anyway. So yeah, we're moving on. I put the bike carbs there purely because the throttle cable is still attached, and so is the choke cable. From what I remember last time I put this engine in, the throttle cable is an absolute bugger to sort out. So I'm quite tempted to just leave it there and service them there, because all I've got to do is turn them upside down, get access to the float bowls, and yeah, just clean all the needles out, clean the float bowls, oil it back up so that it can all freely move. So I've taken the breather pipe off here. So this pipe, actually, you probably can't really see, but it goes down to the bottom of the block, which obviously helps the block breathe, and that's a catch can for any moisture and any oil residue. Fuel pressure regulator at the back, just there. That actually steps down the fuel pressure from the fuel pump in the boot, which is around about sort of 7 psi I think, down to about 1.5 psi for the bike carbs. And it's also got a filter in it as well, so we'll change the filter. And yeah, it's coming on. Then we've got some bell housing bolts to do. You know, just little fiddly bits here and there, and then we've got 2 cotton reel mounts, 1 on either side, and the engine should come forward and off it comes. So I know that sounds easy, but it's not. There's lots of little bits of work to do, so I'll just keep you informed. Alright, so I've just loosened off that bottom clamp. Just about to do this top one. Lovely. Might as well do that one. Yep, so we're ready to drop the water, and then I can get that radiator out. Here we go. Oh, just about to go. She's bleeding! She's a gusher. Right. Undo that. So now I'm just going to rinse that away because I don't want it staining my driveway. There's something I like to do. Put the hose straight in there and flush the engine out. Do the same in your radiator until it runs clear, and I think we're about there now. We've not done too bad. The radiator's out, so that's a tricky job done. Carbs are off. Most of the electrical bits, apart from the starter motor, is disconnected. So yeah, going alright. So as you can see, radiator's out, bike carbs are off. Some of the electrics down here are disconnected, grounds, bike carbs are over here because of the throttle cables and that. So we're not far off. Just got to disconnect the starter motor, clutch cable, and then the bell housing and the 2 engine mounts, and she's away. Right, so the idea of this is just to do little and often. If I just go doing the whole lot in one night, I'll kill myself. Plus, I need some hands, because you have to wiggle stuff around while somebody else is undoing the bolts. It's just nicer to have company as well. So, and friends are what it's all about. You should be working on your cars, on your bikes, with your friends. Enjoy the company, have a few beers, make good times. So, if any of you want to come and help me, feel free. Yeah, do a bit more tomorrow night or the night before, something like that. I keep saying but yeah, leave it at that. See you soon.